Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what is effectively the first 5.7 Spiral Abyss has just released, but of course 5.7 is still 2 days away, which means SKIRK is not here yet. So you know what, I decided, let's just use AYAKA instead. Who needs a SKIRK when we have our OG #1 cryo DPS still in the game? And with escoffier, she's doing pretty damn good for herself. So of course we'll be picking up our C0R0 AYAKA alongside furina, as well as our brand new escoffier, and then finally shenhe as our last slot. Unfortunately, not a very free-play friendly team, but that's kind of what's gone on with Cryo nowadays. If you have Cryo, you kind of really want both furina and escoffier, and SKIRK also relies on them pretty heavily, so for some reason, Cryo DPSs are just pretty expensive nowadays, although all the units here are C0R0 at least. And then for the second half, we will be using Arlecchino. I know this is a when characters have 0 energy buff, which is obviously tailored towards Mavuika, which is why I'm not going to be using Mavuika. Instead, we're going to be throwing in Bennett, as well as Kazuha, as well as citlali. One thing I should mention is that my Arlecchino is on a... wherever she is, there we go, she's on a level 70 R1 white tassel. This is because I pulled a double Arlecchino and activated her constellation, so that's kind of to balance it out for the damage aspect. And then we're also running citlali, who's a shielder, which should cancel out the interruption resistance part. So yeah, with that being said, let's just hop right into it. Alright, and here we are on the first chamber. We will be picking up the sprint buff because, I mean, I guess why not? Now these guys are grouped up, so we should be able to take them out pretty easily here. Let's just get our attacks. There we go, casual 252k there. Why the heck not? Now, like I mentioned, of course this is C1, but we do have white tassel and citlali here, citlali shield here to balance it out, so that it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Anyway, just bursting there so that we can try to get as much cryo as we can. Actually, I should have Bennett ulted there before using Kazuha's ult, but it's fine. Actually, now that I think about it, if I use citlali, isn't she able to get rid of some of these things? Okay, honestly, I don't remember entirely how these bosses' mechanics work. Whenever I fought them in the overworld, I just killed them before they even had the chance to do this attack. So yeah, I'm just going to build up my energy bar here, as well as take out these copies here as well. And that should do the trick. There we go. So now we have our Bennett burst, as well as our Kazuha burst. And now we go into citlali EQ. Let the cryo apply, and first hit. Okay, we're doing between 100 and like 250k here, roughly, and this guy gets absolutely shredded. Oh well, this girl rather gets absolutely shredded. Okay, I was about to say within a minute, but never mind, they just got back up right on time. So let's refresh some of our stuff here. Don't want to use any burst because I just want to save those, and there we go. It ended up being 75 seconds instead, so we did waste a bit of time there, but that shouldn't make too much of a difference in the grand scheme of things. Same thing here, we have some useless mobs spawning in at the start. Of course, we're starting off with an AYAKA either so that we can get more stacks for our Amenoma, and you know, just a little bit of extra damage as well, why the heck not, because we get it back by the time we go back on AYAKA anyway. So now when we burst, we get way more energy back. As you can see, we're already halfway to our bar, and that's without doing our team's rotation, which will probably give us another burst as well. So now that we get another skill, this is when we're going to go into the rest of our rotation. This is just my favorite way of playing AYAKA. Can I get the FAV particles, please? Never mind, maybe I already got them. But now let's just continue into the team rotation. Oop, I accidentally did hold skill there on shenhe. I rather do a press skill on her in the AYAKA team, but that's fine. Also, one thing I should mention is we are on Blizzard Strayer as opposed to... managed to say, when I was coming into this abyss, I was going in kind of blind. Like, I knew what the enemy lineups was, but I didn't know the spawn pattern, so I thought there were going to be way more trash mobs as opposed to bosses. I just thought more would spawn in rather than just 2 at the beginning of the wave to just waste your time. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Anyway, let's just use our rotation here. I don't want to use my burst quite yet because I kind of want to save that for when these guys all go down. I used my hold skill again there on shenhe, that's my mistake. Now, of course, we are getting a normal attack buff in this abyss as well for our AYAKA, which I'm sure is helping a bit, although most of her damage comes from, I'd say, probably charge attacks and her ult rather than just her normal attacks. So, you know, I don't think it's the biggest difference in the world, but there we go, we managed to clear within about a minute as well, which is very nice. And with that being said, let's hop into the second chamber. Alright, and here we are on the second chamber now, picking up a skill damage buff, which will be nice for our escoffier as well as our furina as well, but I mean, it's an okay bonus to AYAKA as well, I guess, since, you know, we do use quite a few of her skills. Anyway, I don't want to use too much of my rotation here. This guy, I believe, has some resistances at the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, so I also don't think I'm going to use citlali's ult here right away. I actually want to save her ult for when we destroy all his little particle food things, no, pyro food things, and then he gets into his weakened state. And okay, now to waste a little bit of time, I'm just going to use my ult here. Will also heal us back up, and now we can continue with our rotation. using Kazuha's skill hit. There we go, he's now down, so now we can E and Q on citlali. And now, as soon as he gets cryo, there we go, 200k there on him, perfect. Another 200k hit in there, not gonna complain. And we've done about a third of his HP. Now is when he spins. Let's just use Kazuha's ult to avoid this. And okay, there goes our Arlecchino getting knocked back. You don't see that very often when you play her with either shield or even her C1, so you know that's definitely a rarity. Anyway, okay, I was expecting him to spin again, which he didn't, which kind of made me waste a little bit of rotation time there, which is unfortunate, but not the end of the world. Now let's just get Cryo on again. There we go. Okay, 284k there. Interesting. Maybe he doesn't have resistances when he doesn't eat the pyro fruits. I might have been mistaken there. Okay, well, too bad. Anyway, we still clear in just under 90 seconds, which once as always is the clear you are aiming for. Okay, anyway, let's see. Oh, we only have 2 targets here. Okay, yeah. So definitely, I do think that Marchesay would have been the play here over Blizzard's trade, because I do have an incredible Marchesay set for cryo characters on my Risley, which I could have just yoinked over for my Ayaka. But like I said, you know, for good time's sake, why not just go for Blizzard's Trayer? Like I think both my Risley and Ayaka used to be top 2%, and now they're top 3%, and that's with Risley on Marchesay as well as Ayaka on Blizzard's Trayer. Ganyu was top 2%, and I think she still is as well, which, you know, nice to see still. And okay, that guy goes down, which is nice. We didn't use any of our ults on the guy's shield because, you know, all of our damaging abilities basically come from our skills anyway, other than Shenhe, and I didn't want to waste Ayaka's ult there either. But now we get to use Ayaka's ult, which once again we're just going to skill to fund some more energy, as well as get 2 stacks for Amanoma's energy refund. And as you can see, we're doing great for ourselves in terms of energy, and this guy's little thing does go down now. And now we just use our skill and go into Furina now. Back into escoffier. Yeah, the rotations are just so fluid in the Ayaka escoffier team alongside Furina. And then 4th slot, of course, is optional, although I do think Shenhe is the best one. Anyway, let's just take this guy out real quick. And there we go, we managed to clear in about 75 seconds. So, yeah, like I said, Marchesay probably preferable. You could probably clear quicker, but, you know, not going to complain. Still gets the job done. This team is absolutely busted. And, yeah, with that being said, let's move on to the final chamber. Alright, finally, time for the final chamber, and we do actually get a crit rate and crit damage buff, which, you know what, can be nice for our Ayaka, because when we're up against a boss, we don't get the 100% crit rate from Blizzard's Trayer. I'm running her on 45% crit rate, which with Blizzard's Trayer gets us up to 102, but if we can't freeze an enemy, then that's minus 20%, so, yeah, because, you know, when you include Cryo Resonance, I think Cryo Resonance, I believe, is 15%, and then maybe, like, 40% of Blizzard's Trayer, something like that. Basically, it gives you, you get 55, actually no, I think it's 45 from Blizzard's Trayer plus 10 from Cryo Resonance, which is why you normally run Ganyu or Ayaka on 45% crit rate. So yeah, anyway, we do have the Capellius boss, which I have not fought in a while. He is actually going to waste some of our biggest hits here on our Arlecchino, so I'm probably going to want to go about breaking the shield in a different way. Okay, that took out quite a fair bit of our HP. Maybe we could use a Kazuha ult here in order to take out the shield easier. Now, of course, this does mean that we won't have the best uptime on citlali's ult, but if I don't use it, then we don't have to worry about citlali ult uptime. And now I think when we break them again, we should be able to... I think they will be weakened, if I'm not mistaken. We're just going to go for an ult hit to waste a little bit of time. And now hopefully when we use our Bennett skill and burst, there we go. Yep, perfect. That takes out the cryo gauge. So now we can actually use our skill and burst on citlali. And now let's just wait for the cryo to go back up. There we go, 158k, 75. Okay, okay, they're not disabled yet. They're going to get disabled after this, but we should still be able to clear her anyway. You know what, let's just refresh our Kazuha's buff as well, and then use citlali as well. Oop, I meant to use her skill, but doesn't matter. Okay, we cleared in about 94 seconds, so slightly slower than we would have liked. But now we have, I believe, this boss's first appearance in the Abyss. Now, I fought this guy in the overworld a lot because I had to farm for escoffier on 2 accounts. So I'm not quite too sure how he differs in thingy. We need to keep using cryo attacks here, which is interesting. Of course, the biggest continuous strain of cryo attacks is from our Ayaka, of course. And this guy's HP bar is getting absolutely shredded, and he's doing absolutely nothing for a while. This guy is just absolutely stun locked right now. We got a achievement there, and he's still not moving. Okay, you know what? Cryo... Okay, cryo is definitely very, very busted on this half. What the hell is this? This guy's not even moving. This might be one of the most criminal bosses in the entirety of Abyss. What do you mean? This guy has not moved at all until I did 2/3 of his health bar, and I'm not even using SKIRK. I'm using AYAKA. What the heck is this? If you guys have a cryo character, this might be one of the easiest bosses. Okay, I'm very glad we managed to dodge that because that did a lot. Look, this guy has not moved once. We're about to clear in a minute, and there we go. Yeah, we cleared in a minute. We're using Blizzard Strayer, so we don't even have 100% crit rate. If we had Mercy, we probably could have cleared quicker. My escoffier isn't even on Golden Troop. She's just using rainbow artifacts, just because I didn't want to give her a set bonus, because that would have been too OP for the Lost Abyss, and I did not change that yet. So even though we are getting a normal attack damage boost, we do still have some nerfs on our team. So generally, this is a pretty applicable performance to the rest of Abyss, or to the rest of future Abysses. And yet we still managed to clear the final boss in a minute with a C0R0 AYAKA. Granted, it's a pretty premium team, but this guy just didn't even move. That's actually criminal, because like at least the seahorse moves a lot and you have to take out a shield. At least the perpetual mechanical array has some annoying stall mechanics. This guy, as long as you just apply a lot of cryo, he does absolutely nothing. I'm pretty sure he has a pretty high HP bar, but still, that's just insane. This is one of the craziest abysses I've seen, and I mean, it was really easy for me, but I'm not sure I'd say it in a good way. I think it's pretty scummy design, but you know what? I guess we win, so I'm just going to take it. And with that being said, let's move on to the character builds as well as the outro. Well then, as you can see, both teams managed to perform exceptionally well, and I am very happy with how things turned out when it comes to our character build, starting off with our Arlecchino team. 76 crit, 208 crit damage on our Arlecchino, like I said, level 70 R1 white tassel because we are C1, with 1066 talents, and then this is how our artifacts are looking. I am hoping to get a better timepiece for our Arlecchino, because right now it's a bit rough. 18% defense is not what you want to see, but then the rest of our pieces are pretty decent. The circlet leaves a bit to be desired, but it's still fine, I suppose. Constellations, like I said, C1 and then 1066. When it comes to our Bennett, wherever he is, there we go. Yeah, 269 ER on a level 90 R1 Sapwood Blade. Artifacts, he is on Noblesse as well to buff up our Arlecchino a bit more, to give her more attack. Constellations, also C6, which is nice, 1 for 13 talents, with the Crowned Burst, of course. And then for our Kazuha, over here, he's on 812 EM, which is the most important part, on a level 80 sword, and then also on Viridescent, of course, just getting up EM whenever we can, as well as some ER, which is nice. And then Constellations C0 with 10 talents. And then for our citlali, she is, there we go, 775 EM with a decent amount of HP, stuff like that. ER as well, 166, could be more in this team, on a R5 Thrilling Tales. Artifacts, of course, on the Cinder City set, one of the most important sets we can run on our Natland supports. Triple EM with Constellations C0 and 196 talents. When it comes to our Freeze Half now, our AYAKA, 47 crit rate, 227 crit damage on a R5 Amanoma Kageuchi. For the artifacts, of course, like I mentioned before, we are on Blizzard Strayer as opposed to Marasase. Probably would be slightly better if I took over our Risley's pieces, because then, you know, we had quite a few bosses, which were probably the harder part, so yeah, that could have been more helpful. But if we have a top 3% Blizzard Strayer AYAKA, used to be top 2%, like I said, then, you know, why not use it? Constellations, also C0 with Triple Crown Talents. And then for our Furina, real quick, 64 crit, 183 crit damage, 222 ERs, no problems getting her burst up whatsoever. Fav Sword as well. And then also Golden Troop, double crit, HP, double crit, as well as crit damage and crit rate. Constellations C0, once again, 2, 9, 10 talents. For our escoffier, 61 crit, 172 crit damage, 161 ER on a R1 level 75 lance. As you can see, we actually don't have a set bonus on her. This is from the Lost Abyss, which had the like 70% skill damage boost, so I took her off Golden Troop so that they would kind of counteract, and I just have not put her on a new set yet because low-key I just don't feel like I need to, so I'll put Golden Troop on her back when I feel like it. But you know, kind of to balance the fact that AYAKA's that we have extra normal attack damage for cryo characters, you know, I don't think we really need to go back on Golden Troop. And then of course she has C0 with 188 talents, so we're actually missing a bit of personal damage as well as healing from her, which would buff up Furina faster. And then finally for our Shenhe, 34 crit rate for Fav, 217 ER as well. Weapons on a level 90 R5 Fav Lance. 2-piece attack, 2-piece attack with energy recharge on the sands. Maybe I could swap that to attack nowadays. we'll see what I decide to do in the future. Constellation C0 with 110 talents. So yeah, that's it for our teams. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys when SKIRK's banner is out, and we will hopefully be able to get her. Well, actually, I say hopefully. We're gonna go all out for her. But yeah, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. See ya.